Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about all the books that I read in March, so my March wrap up. I read a total of 12 books. Can't hear my dog coming in. In March I read a total of 12 books, which is the most. Oh my god, Luna. Stop moving. In March, I read a total of 12 books, which is the most that I've read so far in a month this year, which is exciting. Thought we could go through some stats first. So, out of those 12 books, 4 of them were my March TBR. So, I got to 4 out of the 6 books that I had picked out for my March TBR. So, didn't get through all of them, but that's okay. And then I had 0 DNFs, which is exciting. Although, so far in April, we're on the 4th. I have officially had my first DNF of the year. But we'll talk about that in April's wrap up. And then those 12 books are broken down into 2 graphic novels, 3 romances, 3 fantasy, 1 historical fiction, and 3 just regular fiction. There also, some of these could cross between different genres, but that's just how I worked them out. Sorry if you hear my dog playing with her toy. I'm not going to take it away from her, so you're just going to have to deal with it. But without further ado, let's get into all of the books that I read in March. Starting off, the first book that I read was Can't Spell Treason Without T. This is a cozy fantasy book. I thought it was cute. It wasn't my favorite cozy fantasy that I've read, so I gave it 3 stars, but I still really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it enough, I think, to pick up the next book in the series, but don't know for sure. Basically, it follows Raina and Kianth. Raina was a soldier for the Queen's army and like one of her top people to protect the Queen. And then Kianth is a mage. And they both run away together and open up this little bookstore coffee shop, or tea shop, not coffee shop. A little bookstore tea shop in the middle of nowhere. And they are on the run and hiding because since Raina ran away and left her position with the Queen is now after Raina. So they are kind of off and hiding. I thought it was cute. The atmosphere of being in a bookshop with a tea shop was amazing, and I loved that. The next book that I read was Saving Six. I finally got all the copies of these books because Target was having their buy 2 get 1 free sale, so happy to finally own them and not just have them on Kindle Unlimited. But I liked this one. It wasn't my favorite in the series. I gave it a 4.5. I definitely liked Binding 13 more than I liked this one. Because Binding 13 was 5 stars. Keeping 13 was also 4.5, so same as this one. But this one just follows, it's the 3rd book in the Boys of Tommen series, and this one follows Joey Lynch, which is Shannon, who was one of the main characters in the first 2, her older brother. So definitely check your trigger warnings with this series. There's a lot of trauma. All of the characters go through a lot, and there's a lot of trauma to unpack. So definitely check your trigger warnings. Just keep that in mind. But the story is just so amazing. And getting to see how all these characters overcome all of the stuff that's happened to them is just chef's kiss. So definitely enjoyed this one. The next book I read is the 9th volume of Spy Family. 3 stars. That's all I'm going to say about it because I have talked about this series for so long in so many of these wrap-ups. I'm just going to tell you my rating. 3 stars. Same as all the other ones. On to the next. The next book that I read is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I enjoyed this one. I didn't like it as much as I liked A Man Called Ove, or Ove, however you pronounce that. But this one was really interesting. I gave it 4 stars. It follows a group of people that are at a apartment showing. And while they're at this apartment viewing, this armed robber comes in and holds them all hostage. and you get to see into the minds of different people that are being held hostage, the person or the robber that's holding them hostage, and then also the police officers that are trying to get a handle on the situation. I really enjoyed it. I love the way that Frederick Bachman writes. He is just, I don't even know, he can put things into words that I feel but have no way of knowing how to phrase it, and he just does that so well. I have a couple spots underlined. Let's see if I have one that I can share. This one, just with a little bit of context behind it, they're talking about kids because one of the hostages is pregnant, and like heavily pregnant, about to give birth type pregnant, and she is worried that she's not going to be a good mom, and this person says, "You don't have to like all children, just one. And children don't need the world's best parents, just their own parents." I thought that was cute. But just like things like that he can just put into words without, like phrases into words that I would have never thought to put together, but they just work so well. This one I just thought was really funny because I'm a hairstylist. If you didn't know that, I'm a hairstylist. And this sentence just says, they were talking about affairs. And this person said, "I'd never had an affair, but once I changed hairdressers and didn't dare walk past the old one for several years." I just thought that was really funny because, did you just go underneath the bed? I just thought that was really funny because I'm a hairdresser and I know how people feel about finding a new hairdresser and leaving the old one, and it can be very taboo sometimes. So I just thought that was funny, but I really enjoyed this one. 4 stars. Definitely a fan of Frederick Bachman's writing. The next book I read was Warrior Girl Unearthed. I enjoyed this one. It was a 3.5 star, so I definitely enjoyed the first one, The Firekeeper's Daughter, a little bit better. I think just like the story of that one, I enjoyed a lot more. That one, The Firekeeper's Daughter, follows our main character who's in high school, and there is a cop undercover at her high school, and she works with him to try to solve some sort of mystery that's going on. This one follows that main character's niece when she's in high school, and she is in an internship at a museum, and she is working to uncover a bunch of historical ancestral artifacts for her Ojibwe tribe that she is a part of. And it was interesting. I loved getting to learn about the Ojibwe tribe and see how their culture works, and just, I loved that aspect of it, but just the story of this one I didn't quite like as much as Firekeeper's Daughter. 3.5. And then I read Wild Side. This one I also didn't enjoy as much as the previous two in this series. I definitely still enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It's the 3rd one in the Rose Hill series, and the Rose Hill series is the first series I've read of Elsie Silver. It's my introduction to her, you can say. And I definitely liked the first 2 a little bit more than I liked this one. I just didn't connect to Tabitha and Reese as much as I connected to the characters from the first 2 books. But this one follows Tabitha and Reese, who have only met each other like once in their lives. Reese was Tabitha's sister's landlord, but Tabitha's sister passes away, and so Tabitha goes to take custody of her nephew and care for him, but Reese is the legal guardian that was left in the will. So they have to work together to stay in the nephew's life. And so there's like a marriage of convenience. It was good. The main male character is a wrestler, which was interesting. I've never read a book with a wrestler as a main character, but definitely just didn't connect to these characters as much as I connected to the other ones in the other books. And then I read the 10th volume of Spy Family. Again, 3 stars. On to the next. The next book that I read was Sunrise on the Reaping. This was a 5-star read for me. I loved this one. This is a continuation of the Hunger Games series, and it is a new release by Suzanne Collins, and it follows Haymitch during his games, which, if you didn't know, Haymitch is the mentor of Katniss and Peeta from the original trilogy, and he won the second Quarter Quell, aka the 50th Hunger Games, and in his Quarter Quell, they had to have double the amount of tributes. So instead of just one boy and one girl tribute from each district, there were 2 boys and 2 girl tributes from each district. And obviously, Haymitch wins his games because he's the mentor to Katniss and Peeta, which the mentors are previous winners of the games, but you just get to follow him through his games, and I will say, seeing all the different connections that happen in this book from the previous books and getting to see characters that you've seen in the original trilogy when they're older, getting to see them and kind of how their stories started, and this one was really interesting. Even though I knew how it ends, I knew how Haymitch already won his games because you learn in previous books, I still was crying during this book. I cried multiple times. It was just so good. I finished it in like 2 days. I could not put it down. Literally every free chance I had, I was reading this. So 5 stars. It might be my favorite of the whole series so far. It's been a couple years since I've read the other ones, but I think this one might be my favorite out of the whole series. You definitely need to read Sunrise on the Reaping, or not Sunrise on the Reaping, that's this book. You definitely need to read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes before you can read this one, but honestly I would say read all of them before you read this one, obviously, but after the first main trilogy, you need to read Ballad of Songbird and Snakes before you go into this one. You can't just go straight from the trilogy to this one. And then I read The Games Gods Play. I also really enjoyed this one. I gave this one 4 stars. This one is a Greek mythology story, and basically every like 100 years or something, the gods all come together to hold this competition of sorts, but none of the Greek gods are competing in the competition. They all pick a human to stand in their place during the games. And this year that this book takes place in is the first year that Hades decides to participate in said competition, and the winner of the competition, the god, becomes the king of the gods. So no one wants Hades to be in this competition because no one wants him to be the king of the gods. He's already the king of the underworld, but it's the first time he is entering this competition, and the main character in this book is the female human, the girl, that he chooses to be his champion in this game. And this girl is part of a thief network, you can say, and it was just really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I also didn't want to stop reading this one. I was listening to it and I could not put it down. It was really good. I buddy read it with some people on Bookstagram, and I am really happy I did because it was fun getting to talk to some people while I was reading it. But would recommend this one. The second one comes out in September, I believe, and I am so excited. We'll be buying it with the matching sprayed edges because I have to at this point, you know? But that was this one. And then I read Shark Heart. I thought this one was really interesting. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but it is my book club's pick for my book club with my best friend. And it was honestly, it was good. It was interesting. It wasn't my favorite book. I gave it 4 stars, but I honestly don't know where it falls between 3.5 and 4, so I guess I should probably say like 3.75, but that's really specific, and I don't like doing 0.25 ratings because it's just confusing. Okay, sorry if the angle or lighting or anything changed. My battery died, so I had to go charge it, and I literally only charged it for like 10 minutes because I only have 2.5 more books to talk about. So I don't want to have to wait for a super long time because then the lighting will be terrible and all that stuff. So anyway, Shark Heart. It's an interesting concept. It basically follows this couple, and the husband is turning into a great white shark. Yeah, so in this world, people can turn into animals. Kind of weird. It definitely has like some deeper concepts and thoughts within the book, but overall it was just a little strange, but I still enjoyed it because of those like darker, or not darker, but like deeper, meaningful thoughts and concepts within them turning into humans. But it definitely was interesting, but I still enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. So, thinking more 3.75. I don't know. And then I read Redeeming Six, which is the 4th book in the Boys of Tommen series. This book still follows Joey Lynch, who is Shannon's older brother, as it did in Saving Six. But this one I enjoyed more than I liked Saving Six. I gave this one 5 stars. I just seeing the growth that Joey has as a character from the start of this book to the end of this book is insane. First off, the stuff that he goes through in the middle of it is crazy, but seeing him turn his life around was just so cool. Or not cool, but was just, seeing him turn his life around was just amazing. And Aoife, I love her. I think it's how you pronounce her name. Don't come at me. I don't know how to pronounce Irish names. So, sorry. But just their relationship is so cute. And I love Aoife as a character. So, again, check your trigger warnings. You should check them before all of these books if you get triggered really easily with some things. But I really enjoyed it. I don't want to say too much because, again, it's the 4th book in a series. I can't say too much without giving things away. Also, just look how floppy this book is. So you know it's a good paperback. Anyway, the last book that I read in March was The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't my favorite Kristen Hanna. In all honesty, I think it's my least favorite Kristen Hanna. It was a really slow start. It took a while to get into the story, but once you get into it, like the second half of the book flew by and I didn't want to put it down. But the first half of the book was just really slow moving. But I thought it was really interesting seeing Alaska from a point of view of someone living there, because I've never lived or been to Alaska, and so I've only ever seen it through pictures, and it's a beautiful place, but I definitely would never want to live there, especially after hearing and seeing what they have to do and go through living in Alaska. Could not be me. But the story was beautiful. It follows this family that moves to Alaska because they inherit this house. And the father is a Vietnam prisoner of war survivor. And he has definitely a lot of mental things going on with him because of what he went through in Vietnam. But he takes it out on his wife and his daughter. At the start of this book, Lenny is a 13-year-old girl. And then by the end of it, she is a like 20-something-year-old, so it follows her whole life basically, and you get to see how, first off, moving to a completely new place and as remote as Alaska is, how that affects like a 13-year-old girl, but then also getting to see just the way her life is with her, how her parents are and her parents' dynamic, how it affects a young girl as well through adulthood. This can be very heavy too because of some of the stuff that you witness happening with the father. It's kind of a lot, but overall the story was just really beautiful and I really enjoyed it. So that's that one. So there you have it. All the books that I read in March. It's a lot. I read 12, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them in the comments below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.